Yo, what's up, guys? It's Adam from Rescue Michigan with a rare daytime stream as we've got a very eventful weekday afternoon in the legislature, and that is both in Lansing and in Washington. We'll talk more about Lansing than Washington just because obviously we're kind of Michigan focused, but there has been a lot going on in Washington as well, with the House Republicans scrambling to pass what many are calling variously a crap sandwich, in the words of Chip Roy, or a dumpster fire, I think another Republican called it, from the Freedom Caucus. And yeah, so we'll look at that. But of course, the big news, at least for us in Michigan, is the absolute debacle that's been going on in the House and Senate. And when I originally was planning to go live, which was just a little while ago, the House had not yet adjourned. They were getting their coats ready, and the feed is over now. The House Republicans are gone for the day. The Senate, not just yet. I'll put on the screen briefly just so you can see. The Michigan Senate is at recess at the call of the chair, which, from what we've been hearing, is going to be the indefinite state of affairs in the state Senate. So we'll come back to that if there's going to be an update, but I don't think there will be, probably not during this stream either. But this is pretty big news. Now, we kicked out an email blast this morning saying that we didn't know what the story exactly was going to be with Representative Karen Whitsett from Detroit, but actually she had said yesterday evening, I just had not gotten the memo yet, that she would not even be coming into Lansing today, which is extremely encouraging news, because the Republicans weren't planning to either. Maybe, or so we think. But tell you what we're going to do. We're going to watch a news conference that the Republican leadership held earlier today in Lansing. It's not too long, but we can watch through it and see if we can decipher what exactly their game plan is, because basically there's a number of situations going on here right now. The first is, and Patty just mentioned, I see the tweet from Sylvia Santana. I saw at least one. I don't know if there's more than one or not. But that's one of the big breaking stories of today, is not only has Karen Whitsett, one of the Democrats in the House, not come in, but also Sylvia Santana, a Senate Democrat, has not come in. And there's been a lot of stories surrounding this. We'll get to all of them. Attorney General Dana Nessel has an interesting bad legal take about this whole scenario, so we'll talk about that too. But there's still a lot of questions about what exactly is going to shake out in the next few days. So first off, officially, the House is scheduled to be in session tomorrow, and that's it. And the state Senate is scheduled to be in session today, tomorrow, and yes, Monday, December 23rd. So it seems as if the clock is running out on the Democrats to ram through whatever terrible lame duck legislation they haven't already gotten. And there's been some complications too. There's this story in MERS. Let me put this up on the screen. A rare open blog from MERS News, which is a major capital-focused news organization. Whitmer suggests mass vetoes if promised bills don't come. So let's see what they say. Gretchen Whitmer told legislative leaders Tuesday, that was yesterday, they should not expect All right, am I back? Am I back? Sorry about that, folks. This is the hazards of the internet, I guess. Hopefully I'm back online. Looks like I'm back online. Hopefully the video comes in better. Anyway, where were we? Oh, that's right. We were reading the MERS news story. So let's come back to that. I'll have to re-upload this with that clip cut out. Anyway, Whitmer made clear to both House Speaker Joe Tate and Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks yesterday morning, that if they promised economic development reform legislation and a long-term road funding package by year's end and have not delivered. They're talking about special interest deals. economic development reform legislation. I think I saw a bill that gave me a clue what this might be about. There is a bill to create a commission that will supervise the Michigan Strategic Fund, which is Michigan's special interest deal corporate welfare agency. And the idea, according to the legislative memo about it, was that there's the business leaders are concerned that when partisan leadership changes from one party to the other, that suddenly their priorities change, and they feel that businesses, it's very important that there be stability, and therefore they should have this this commission that will supervise and make recommendations and oversee how the Michigan Strategic Fund gives out its corporate welfare special interest deals, which seems weird. I mean, obviously, the real agenda here is that they're upset that Republicans won back the House, that they want to lock in as much as they can before that change happens. And the other thing, this other fund, this is another one, same deal, corporate welfare, special interest deals. So some type of reiteration of the Strategic Outreach and Attraction Reserve and Innovation Fund and other business attraction pieces of legislation. So Whitmer wanted a long-term deal on the roads and was working with House Minority Leader Matt Hall on some ideas. She hasn't seen the Public Safety Trust Fund, which has been sitting in the Senate for some time, this source indicated. Public Safety Trust Fund. You know, Democrats have spent the past 2 years attacking cops. They're going to create a trust fund for public safety. Yeah, sure they will. So Merz goes on. The three bills to create the $60 million innovation fund are on the Senate agenda for action this Wednesday. Too bad Sylvia Santana's not there, right? For those who think Whitmer could be bluffing, remember in 2019 when then Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey and then House Speaker Lee Chatfield sent the governor a non-negotiated budget. She ended up vetoing $947 million in spending, including $375 million for roads, proving that she has vetoed priorities, which really just, first off, Gretchen Whitmer trying to prove what a strong woman she is. That's part of it. But the other thing, too, is vetoing Republican bills. Not the same as vetoing her own party's bills. Will she do that? We'll see. We'll look in a second at why Karen Whitsett has not come in and Sylvia Santana, what they're holding out for, and whether or not their opinions might change. So we'll get to that in a minute here. But let's finish this story. It's almost over. House Democrats met briefly in an online caucus yesterday to discuss plans for the rest of lame duck. The plan should be we're home and we're staying home, period. But we'll see. A source told Merz the upshot is they plan to hold a session at 10 a.m. Wednesday and possibly Thursday to take votes on second chamber bills from the Senate only. So what that means, and if you haven't seen this already, I made a brand new page at rescuemichigan.com called Bills That Passed in Only One Chamber. It's on our Operation Watchdog page. And what it has is a list of bills that have passed in only the chamber where they originated in. So there's House bills, they start in the House, they pass the House, they go to the Senate, and then the Senate can either approve it as written, or they can sit on it and it dies, or they can make amendments and pass that, and then it's got to go back to the House to have those changes concurred with or not. So it's a very long page. I actually made an HTML version because it takes so long to load. But basically, there are over 1,000 House bills that have passed the House and 900 some bills that have passed the Senate. So what they want to do is pass bills now that have, here we go, I'll bring this up on the screen here. Bills that don't need to be passed in both chambers yet anymore because they're running out of time. Now, going back to the calendar issue, the House is only supposed to be scheduled for session tomorrow. But the thing is, the majority can cheat all the time. They can amend, they can suspend the rules, they can amend the rules, and they have broad leeway to do that because in the House, they can just say, the speaker just gavels through what their opinion is, and if someone tries to appeal the ruling of the speaker, then they'll have a vote, and the Democrats in the majority will vote with them. So if they need to schedule an extra legislative day, they can. But, there's obviously still practical political considerations why they might not do that. So it's likely they will only be around tomorrow, if at all. But it's not a guaranteed thing, folks. Until the year is done, until they have officially adjourned for the year, it's not a guarantee that they can't come back yet. Nothing is certain. There's no shortage of procedural tricks, and Democrats know them all. But that being said, the House having adjourned for today and only having tomorrow left, it's starting to look pretty good. The question is, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen with the Republicans? And what's going to happen with Karen Whitsett and potentially some others? There were 3 other Democrats that didn't show up today either, or didn't check in at their desks at least. One is Representative Alabas Farhat from, I want to say, Dearborn. If not Hamtramck, maybe it's Hamtramck. He's the 3rd district. Abraham Ayash, who's from Dearborn, and he is the majority floor leader, so it'd be strange if he didn't show up. However, he did not seek re-election this year. The rumor is he wants to run for state senate, so maybe he's got some other games going on. I don't know, but he didn't check in his desk this morning, but that might just be a coincidence. He might have just been going straight to caucus. I don't know. Maybe his cars, had an issue and he ran late. I don't know. We'll see. And the other one is Representative Price, who I think her first name might be Natalie, one of the more generic unknown Democrats out there. Anyway, what's going on with them? Who knows? But there's all these bills that have passed one chamber but not the other. So thinking the idea is they'll work on passing these because they're already halfway to the finish line. They just need to get a vote in the opposite chamber. They're probably too late to pass with amendments because they can't come back to the House to do more stuff after tomorrow unless they do something bizarre like amend the schedule, which we'll see. They have to do that by concurrent resolution. But again, don't ever assume the Democrats won't play crazy games. But here's the list. And this is also at the Operation Watchdog page at Rescue Michigan, where you can see the updated version. It'll take some time to load, believe me. But you can see all these bills that were introduced after November 5th. And so there's 900 some of them. And they're sorted in descending order from the date that they were passed in the House, which are the ones that are most likely the ones that Democrats really want to get done. And then about a little more than halfway down, there's then the bills that passed only the Senate. And there's these 930 Senate bills there too that are now in the House. And there's all kinds of crazy stuff. So with that, the question now becomes, what has Rep Santana, or what has Rep Whitsett said, and what has Rep Santana said? So let me first go to this comment from Sylvia Santana. Or maybe, do I have something posted handy? Let me find it here if I've got something. Well, I'll tell you what I've heard, and I'll try to find the exact same story online. Okay, this is a quote from Sylvia Santana. This is Zach Gorchow, who's a reporter for Gongwer. I think he's still with Gongwer. He might be with somebody else now. Sylvia Santana tells Gongwer News Service she will not attend today's Senate session. Quote, "I will not be in attendance to vote for the governor's corporate welfare agenda," meaning that strategic fund thing, "while Democrats ignore priorities that impact urban communities. We have supported a progressive agenda only to have Black community agenda set aside until the last hours of trifecta," meaning the Democrats having majority in the House, plus the Senate and the governor. Santana's absence leaves Democrats short of the votes they need to pass the bills in the Senate. So, in case you guys don't know, they need a majority of members serving. So just because Republicans aren't there doesn't mean they just get a majority of Democrats. They need to have 56 votes in the House and 20 votes in the Senate. And they only have a 1-seat majority in each of them. So Sylvia Santana's gone. They only have 19 Democrats. Assuming all Republicans vote no, and that's a big if. That's a big if, at least on some of these things. So some of the worst partisan Democrat legislation, like the gun ban bills, and there's a lot of those. We'll look at some of those in a second. Republicans are more than likely to vote unanimously against those things. But corporate welfare deals, not so much. Not so much. And there might be horse trading going around too. There might be some spending deals, some things of that nature. So that's what Sylvia Santana says. So it sounds like if she gets certain concessions for priorities that impact urban communities, whatever that might mean. I mean, I don't honestly know. Is she talking about letting more prisoners out of prison? Doesn't seem like a positive issue for urban communities to me, but who's to say? Who's to say? Maybe she wants that bill to create taxpayer relief for delinquent water bills, that kind of thing. Who knows? Sylvia Santana is not a moderate Democrat, folks. So that might disappear. And if that happens, if the Senate comes back into session tonight, which they may, and tomorrow and Monday, then guess what, folks? All of these House bills that are sitting in the Senate don't need the House to get sent to the governor's desk. And that's a lot of them. That's a lot of them right there. That's a lot of bad right there. But on the bright side, first off, the bills that have not passed in the House, assuming the Republicans hold the line in the House and those bills go nowhere, that's a lot dead. And, Kelly says they're in session now. Okay, I'm going to go to the feed then and see what's going on in the Senate right now. Although chances are what's happening in the Senate is not going to, it's hurry up and wait in the legislature. So I'm not going to be in too much of a rush, especially since I lost my live feed to my own stream a moment ago. I don't want looking at a live stream to cause problems with that, but I'll go back to the Senate in a moment here. But anyway, what often happens is the chambers trade deals, because things that the Democrats in the House pass, to us, the Democrats are all automatons that have no free thinking, and they're all doing the exact same thing for the same agenda, which is largely true. But the House Democrats have bills they passed and they want sent to the governor's desk, and the Senate too. Kelly says the House is in session. Really? Let's see. I will go to that. I will see. Hold on. I'm refreshing the page now. It shut down the stream for me maybe 20 minutes ago. Kelly, I'm still getting a blank feed. So let me know where you're seeing this, because the last time the House session was up, I saw Democrats putting their coats on. And as of now, the live feed showing nothing. So yeah, it looks like we're okay, but we'll see. Anyway, where was I? So next question is Karen Whitsett. And what has she said? She said, let me see if I can find the quote here. I believe she said, we don't want to pass these corporate welfare deals unless all 110 members get something for their districts, which is really a nothing burger, because those are special interest deals. What's the difference? But we'll see. Where did I see this? I'm going to try to find it. It's not a good time for me to be plotching around on X. But I'll say this about Karen Whitsett. She is also not a moderate Democrat. She has had her moments. I mentioned in my email, I think yesterday or this morning, Karen Whitsett was the one who praised President Trump in 2020. When she was very sick with COVID, she took hydroxychloroquine because she heard about it from Donald Trump. And she suddenly felt a lot better when she, for a moment, felt like she was at death's door. So she said, yeah, it worked for me, worked excellent. And thanks to Trump for suggesting it. And the Democrats flayed her for that one, including running a primary challenge against her. So there was that. But apart from that, she votes with Democrats almost all the time. In fact, I even have a page on my website where you can compute exactly how often she votes with all Democrats. And let's just see. Let's see where Karen Whitsett falls on this. This is the Every Democrat Vote page. No, it's this other one, the partisan rank. And let's see where Karen Whitsett falls. Oh, that's right. 100%. He is, of all the Democrats, one of the least dissenting in the past 2 years. He voted with the Democrat majority on every single vote for the past 2 years. 1,090 of them in her case. Oh, she says they're in session an hour ago. Well, they didn't pass anything. They did not even get quorum. They cleared the board on attendance because they only had 52 Democrats and 0 Republicans that checked in. So unless that changes, Kelly, the House is done for the day. And if Republicans can hold the line just a little more, just a little longer, then that's going to really gum up the works in a big way. And if the same pattern happens in the state Senate, then lame duck is done. And potentially dozens, if not hundreds, of bills are not going to get sent to the governor's desk. But, that could change, guys. That could change. And, just because Karen Whitsett and Sylvia Santana say we're not going to show up and vote unless, especially when it's generically voiced, might actually just mean they're holding on for something that they want individually, and realizing that the Democrats need unanimity, they're willing to play hardball, unlike their other caucus mates, which is surprising. I guess it shouldn't be surprising, but the other 50 House Democrats, 55 House Democrats, the other 19 Senate Democrats, except leadership, because they're the ones that pretty much get what they want ordinarily. They're the ones that are just going along with everything and getting nothing, but actually, really, they're all getting something. They all think they're getting something. So that could change, and that exact same logic applies to the Republicans, because the Republicans didn't just say, "Forget it, we're done." They've said, "We're taking a stand for certain things, for certain conditions." So let's look at what some of those things might be. So first off, let me, okay, here we go. This is the quote I was looking for, by the way. This is from 10 p.m. last night. Beth LeBlanc for the Detroit News says she will not be attending session, depriving Democrats of a 56th vote. She says she wants votes on tipped wage, paid sick leave, road funding, which are curiously all the very same things that the Republicans have been saying that they want, and that the governor says she wants, plus water affordability and public safety funding. So this is smelling a lot like there's a deal in the works, folks. So hold your horses on calling this a victory just yet. It sounds like they're going to get the things that they all say they want, plus this water affordability deal, taxpayers funding for water bills, and public safety funding. More money for Detroit, basically. Because Democrats have made it a lot more expensive to hire cops. Because of demonizing them. You're cutting down the labor pool. People have lost interest in being cops. Then there's the occasional police lynching, like the case of Christopher Schur in Grand Rapids, and people don't want to become cops. So now cops become more expensive. And so now the taxpayers have to pay for that too. Isn't that great? Isn't that a great system they've got? Anyway. So let's see here. Since I'm here, before I get to what the Republicans are up to. So this is what Dana Nessel posted, apparently on Facebook, popping her mouth off, saying that what Whitsett and the Michigan House Republicans have chosen to do today is literally criminal. Which, of course, her being the Attorney General is implying she's considering pursuing criminal charges against them. Which is, first off, an absolutely staggering hypocrisy from Dana Nessel. In fact, I made a point in this tweet. Dana Nessel herself has actually publicly expressed willful neglect of duty herself. She literally said, "I'm going to refuse to enforce Michigan's abortion law," before the state constitution was amended to legalize killing babies. The U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, and Michigan had a very, very pro-life law that said abortion's illegal, period. And Dana Nessel just came out and said, "I'm not going to enforce it." Now, there is a concept called prosecutorial discretion, which means a prosecutor does not have to bring charges against any particular person, and you can't just accuse them of willful neglect of duty for not doing something, because there's a slippery slope here, and you wouldn't want people to be impeached or criminally charged for not following policy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I get that. But when the politician comes right out and says, "I'm refusing to do my job and I will not enforce this law," that's willful neglect of duty right there. Anyway, so Dana Nessel's a big fat hypocrite. Another news the sunroof this morning. But anyway, so Sylvia Santana shot back with this. It would be a progressive, tough on crime attorney general to call 2 black women criminals for taking a principled stand on behalf of black people. That was Sylvia Santana's reply to that, which is funny. But again, you have to wonder how much of this is just for show. But in all seriousness, guys, this is a horribly irresponsible statement from Dana Nessel for the Attorney General of Michigan to threaten the legislative branch is a serious disrespect for the Constitution, for the separation of powers doctrine, for the weaponization of justice. This is playing with fire. And, Dana Nessel, everyone knows she's a lunatic, she's a moron, et cetera, et cetera. But that's how dangerous she can be. This is the whittling away of the foundations of our society, of the rule of law. That Dana Nessel, the quote-unquote top cop in Michigan, as she sometimes likes to call herself, just flippantly threatens lawmakers with arrest, with criminal charges. A terrible thing. And she certainly knows that this is not the first time this has ever happened. Yeah, Patty says all she knows is threats. She's a thug. She is a thug. You're correct. And she certainly knows that things of this type have happened many times. Michigan Democrats boycotted the legislature when we passed right to work. I think it was Indiana Democrats fled the state because the Republicans invoked what's called a call of the House. Call of the House is when the House Speaker orders members to come in and sit in their seats. And when there's a call of the House, the lawmakers are now literally, if they're in the chamber, they are locked in the chamber. The House sergeants at arms are suddenly guarding the doors, and they're not allowed to leave. Well, in Indiana, when they had a call of the House and lawmakers weren't there, that meant that they literally had a legislative warrant sent out to have the lawmakers arrested, not taken to jail, but taken to the state house to do their job. So Indiana Democrats fled to Wisconsin to evade the warrant of the call of the House. Democrats have no problem with this whatsoever, except, of course, when the other side does it. So, staggering hypocrisy, dangerous rhetoric from idiot fanatic Dana Nessel. But there you go. Anyway, so then there is this. This is the scene at the press conference at the Nut House, which is just like kind of across the street from the Capitol. It's not far from the Capitol. It's right by Lansing Lugnut Stadium. And there is House incoming leadership. I assume most of these people are. You've got Matt Hall there at the podium, obviously, the speaker-elect. To our left from him, that is Pat Outman. Then you've got Ann Bolin. This guy, I don't think that's Aragona. Help me out, Chad. Is that Phil Green, maybe? I don't know who it is. Then to our right, you have outgoing Rep Graham Filler. Lousy Judiciary Committee chair. He's finally termed out, thank God. He was awful. Never met a lobbyist he didn't like. Blocked all of Rep Riley's bills to protect the Constitution, instead favoring lots of criminal justice reform, the stuff the Democrats are passing now. You got Bill Schuette there, junior, or the third. Bill G. Schuette he goes by, so I guess he's not technically a junior. And then you got Brian Posthumus over there. Anyway, there's this news conference where Matt Hall says, I have to commend Gretchen Whitmer for reportedly delivering an ultimatum on roads and sick leave. Republican leader Matt Hall calls Joe Tate a fumbling lame duck. So they're not far. They're not far from the House. They might have come back in. They won't today, I don't think, but they might tomorrow. We'll see. But let's go to it, guys. Let's watch the news conference. I got about a third of the way through it, and I want you guys to hear what Matt Hall's going to say, because frankly, I'm not entirely sure what I think of this. And so we can watch this together, and I want to get your reactions too. Here we go. This is from this morning. This is Matt Hall explaining what the Republicans' position is. My concern is they're going to cut some deal, pass some bills, probably this, and we'll hear from this tip credit thing in a second here, and then come back in and do God knows what else. So here we go. Here's the video.
There must be something more important going on somewhere. No, it's true. One day we'll be newsworthy enough to bring Rick Albin. He's my favorite reporter in the Capitol Press Corps. He does a great job.
He's whining about the lack of coverage of this event.
Scoobik here?
Oh, sorry, I meant to turn the volume back up.
Scoobs. Okay. I hope he didn't plan any more questions with you. You know, the dean of the Capitol Press Corps. He's tough. He's one of the toughest, and he probably didn't want to get arrested. So I don't blame Scoobik, you know, hanging with a bunch of outlaws, you know. And you look at this secretary, or what is it, attorney general. Isn't that incredible? Isn't it incredible? I mean, this is a person who's engaged in lawfare, you know, who goes after people. Notice they're almost always Republicans, and ties them up in years and years of frivolous criminal litigation, criminal process. So I would just say this: number one, there is oversight coming to Attorney General Nessel's office, and she knows that. And that's one reason why she's saying the things she's saying. But I would just say there's oversight coming. There's going to be scrutiny on that budget. I mean, her department and her office is out of control. I mean, these people are going after innocent Michiganders and just tying them up in years and years of criminal cases, and they keep getting dismissed. I mean, this one where she went after those two people who made an innocent mistake over in St. Clair Shores, and it gets dismissed. And
I don't even know what he's talking about, but this is a very poor argument. He's trying to attack Dana Nessel. He's doing a very bad job of it. He's threatening her budget, which is probably not a threat he's going to be able to carry out because the Democrats still have the other chamber. I mean, compared to what I was just saying earlier about Dana Nessel, this is weak sauce, but let's let him continue.
I mean, you look at DePerno, that's not going anywhere. I mean, years and years of this. And then you look at all those electors. And
remember,
how about yesterday?
Matt DePerno.
How about yesterday, where we voted in a peaceful process to elect Donald Trump with our electoral votes. And you saw John Haggard there. You saw Michonne Maddock there. You saw a lot of great people there who are facing unfair.
Notice he's name dropping Michonne Maddock. I got nothing against Michonne Maddock. But, you know, the reason why he's name dropping Michonne Maddock is because he works for John Yob and she's going to be supporting John Yob as the consultant if she becomes the new state chair. We'll talk about that some other day, but it's just funny to see Matt Hall name dropping Michonne there. Patty says, what did Matt Hall et al. Do about to stop the lawfare, or at least help those people? And Republicans had the majority in 2020 to 2022. Yeah, exactly. Another reason why these words are so shallow. Dwayne says Nessel has filed false charges against an elderly man in Plymouth Township. Yeah, see, if you're going to make these claims like Matt Hall did, you got to give the example. You know, name the names of the people she's harmed. But anyway, let's move past this.
Criminal prosecution from Nessel. So I'll just say, you know, we saw this to President Trump where the Democrats used lawfare against him. We're not going to be bullied and intimidated by this attorney general. And she has no business as a member of the executive branch telling us in the legislative branch what to do. And look, I'm an attorney too, so I would hope she knows about the separation of powers, but we're not going to be bullied by her. But I will say she knows that oversight's coming and accountability to her department and scrutiny of her budget. And we're going to get her office under control because she's out of control and she's not running it very well.
Yeah, this guy's going to be a very uncharismatic speaker if you can't already tell. Notice how, I mean, the framing is so self-centered. Yeah, she's attacking us, and so we're going to attack her back. That's the message. Not she's attacking the foundations of our democracy, of our constitutional republic. You know, he's not making these arguments very well at all. But let's I guess just forgive him for this and move on, because we're getting to substance here in a second. Yeah, Patty, I did speed it up because I want to get through this, and it's going to be a long time otherwise.
But we're not here to talk about that. You know, we're here to talk about our restaurant workers. And you look at, you know, a group of people who've been absolutely bullied and their livelihoods have been threatened by Democrats and government. I mean, going all the way back to the pandemic when they wouldn't, you know, the restaurants were the most picked on industry. Many closed. And here we are today. Where many restaurants, over 20%, are facing closure again come early next year. all of those restaurant workers are going to lose their jobs. And for the ones that stay open, the restaurant workers are going to make a lot less money because the tipping system is going to go away. That's basically what's going to happen. The tipping system will go away.
Again, the arguments are so bad here. What does he mean the tipping system is going to go away? Now, I know what that means. You know what that means. We talked about this, I think, on Sunday stream. What the Democrats have done by, I believe, amending the state constitution, it was a citizen-initiated law, they literally deceived voters into forcing restaurants to pay tipped employees full wages, which they've also raised the minimum wage for, making servers massively more expensive for business owners. So they're going after fire probably half of them. Any given restaurant probably will. Many restaurants will probably close. But to just kind of gloss over this is to say the jobs are going away. The tipping system is going away. I mean, this is confusing. This is confusing for if an ordinary person was watching this, and okay, understand, an ordinary person is not watching this video. But politicos are, his colleagues are, the ones behind him. And they need to understand how to message effectively on this issue. And the tip system is going away is not relatable to voters. Because how exactly would that play out? For a paying restaurant customer, the way this is so devious and deceptive that he never explains is that, like so many government policies, they do it in a covert, stealthy manner so that the average person doesn't see how the government's deceiving them and ripping them off. So they don't know that now the employer is being forced to pay servers $20 an hour. Eventually, it's going to come to that level. So they're not going to know not to tip them. They're just going to see, wow, my server is really bad because she's got so many tables. And wow, I'm so sorry to see that this restaurant didn't make it. Wow, these menu prices are so expensive. Must be that Biden inflation. Although it won't be Biden inflation, it'll be Trump inflation, is what it'll be, right? Now that food prices are skyrocketing, not because of higher food costs or even because of inflation, although there'll be that too probably, but because of higher labor costs. Okay. You can't get all that out in a 2-second bit. I get that. You're limited by your time, but the tipping system is going away is not a way to convey that effectively. I mean, I do applaud that he's trying to make the effort to at least say this is harming restaurant workers, but you still got to do better than this. And let's let him continue.
And prices are going to go up. I mean, you're going to be paying $25 for a burger. We keep hearing that it'll be 25% increase in food and beverage when you come to restaurants. How many Michiganders can afford that? How many people are going to go out to eat? And so you're going to see restaurants close. You're going to see workers laid off. And what is it the Democrats are doing? Okay. What they want to do today, based on what I've seen, are things like.
Okay. So he actually gets to this point, except there's one thing he's left out. The Democrats did this. He forgot to mention that bit. Oh, yeah, Democrats deceived the voters into passing this stupid deal that will rip off servers by making their jobs unaffordable to the restaurants. Forgot about that little bit. Whoops-a-daisy. Stephen says Rick Albin's talking about Matt Hall on News 8 now. Oh, so Matt Hall's little bid to pay attention to him worked. That's funny. That's funny. All right, here we go.
Making corrections workers register prisoners to vote. I mean, you look at these correction workers, they're some of the most overworked people in the state. I mean, we're having a struggle getting these people to come, to find people to work in the prisons. And it's really important work, to our public safety. And here we are trying to put more mandates on them to register prisoners to work. And then the other idea they have is to start gerrymandering to allow, like playing around with where prisoners are counted for population censuses to screw around with political districts. I mean, what's more important? Where prisoners are decided on where they're registered to vote, whether it's here or there, or saving our restaurant industry. I mean, I look at this stuff. They have this thing they call the Death Star they want to do this week, which would basically create a total mess where every local government will have different labor policies, different wage policies, different leave policies. It would make it impossible to have a restaurant in multiple communities. It would make it difficult for our retailers. That's going to cost so many jobs if you have a policy like the Death Star.
Okay, this is horrible messaging, folks. I mean, this is like a class in what not to do, how to be confusing. throw in a bunch of different issues that don't seem to connect. You're first talking about restaurants, and now you're talking about prison workers. And again, things that, see, voters understand. Statistics can be confusing. Statistics can be misleading. When politicians are talking about statistics and numbers and weird buzzwords like Death Star that don't fit, that something fishy is going on. And the average listener hears this stuff and they're like, this guy's trying to bamboozle me somehow. This is just some kind of partisan hackery going on. Now, what might Matt Hall say instead that actually would work? Well, let's think. How about this? Democrats introduced over 200 bills after the election because they didn't want voters to see what they were putting in. Then they rammed these things through without hearings and broke all the rules so that the people couldn't even see what they were doing, so that the media couldn't pay any attention, so that we couldn't even read the bills. And now Karen Whitsett has said, I'm not going to vote for these things because they haven't even given us time to read these damn things. You see how people could relate to those things, guys? Because people feel the exact same way. They feel like, I don't know what my legislators are doing. I don't know what these bills say. These are simple, common sense talking points. He's not using any of those. Instead, he's going with this gobbledygook. And this is exactly what you get from political hacks, the people that have spent their entire careers in Lansing. This is how they talk. This is how they think. This is how they write. And you see it in every which way they communicate. Like, one of the things you'll notice with politicians and everybody in Lansing, they'll never call something a bill or a law or a piece of legislation. It's always a plan. It's always a plan. So-and-so's plan is this and so-and-so's plan is that. Plan. They always use that word because they've got a thing on their wall that says, always call it a plan. It's a good word that works. They have these mottos and methods, but they don't have any common sense as far as like how to be relatable to people. But anyway, I digress. Let's try to get to what Matt Hall's demands are, and I swear I will shut up until we get to that point.
And so we're looking through all these things they want to do. I mean, I'm just going to go through a couple more because I want you all to know why we're not coming in today. They want to regulate the hell out of charter schools, right? I don't know. Do Democrats know that some people go to charter schools and that actually helps them? Like, if you go to a charter school and you live in a community that's underprivileged, some people go to charter schools, kids, and they get a great education and it puts them on a trajectory to be successful in life. Do Democrats know that? And these are the people that just got rid of A through F for schools. They don't want you measuring schools' performance, except they want to regulate the hell out of charter schools and put them out of business. I would go, when you look at somebody like Karen Whitsett, who's one of the only honest Democrats out there, a brave person who's standing up for her district, is she going to come in and vote to kill all the charter schools in Detroit? I mean, that would set that city back considerably.
She might.
I'll just point out they want
why would you put that on her?
Violent criminals out of prison early in violation of the state's truth in sentencing laws. And is that the conversation we should be having right now? Is that what the people of Michigan want? Politicians to come in and get rid of and let violent criminals out of prison early in violation of truth in sentencing? And who talks to the victims? Not these Democrats. So I would just say we want to save our restaurant industry. We don't want to let violent criminals out of prison, which is what Democrats are proposing. We don't want corrections workers to have to force prisoners to register to vote. We don't want to kill charter schools. We don't want to create a confusing regulatory nightmare in every different district across our state with crazy labor policies from community to community. We want to save our restaurant industry. We want to protect workers' earned sick leave.
Right, and we want to quiet him down to talk.
I'll tell you, I commend Governor Whitmer.
I know what he's talking about. I've read all these bills. Regular people don't. He just keeps on going on with this.
I see Kyle Malin here.
He's makes it easy for the Democrats to just come out and say, oh yeah, the Republicans are holding up everything because of some demand for restaurants that they want.
Then I may not sign your bills. Well, you know what? Kudos to Governor Whitmer for taking a stand on that, because that's very similar to our position. We want to work on meaningful issues in lame duck, like fixing our roads, saving our tips, saving our restaurant industry, and making sure workers get a fair sick and earned sick time policy. That's what we want to do. It sounds like Governor Whitmer is on that team. I give her credit for that. But Joe Tate totally is fumbling this lame duck, and you see it from his members. Don't just take it from me. I mean, you look at what Joey Andrews said. Joey Andrews made it clear the Democrats were willing, some of them, to address these issues, and Joe Tate fumbled it. And you look at what Karen Whitsett said, and you want to talk about mistreated. Look at the way they're treating her. I mean, I watched them on the floor, from my office, and they're surrounding her. You got 4 or 5 people surrounding her, bullying her all night. And I'll tell you this, based on the reports, and you're telling her we're going to vote on the tip credit, and then you meant, no, we're going to vote on the tipping fee, and we're going to raise your garbage tax 270%. I mean, how would you feel
if you were told that by your leadership. We would never treat any of our members that way. We would never do that. We would never lie to our members. We would never bully our members. And shame on Joe Tate.
I don't believe that for
treating
1 second.
a duly elected representative of his own city and his own caucus that way, who's just fighting for her district. So I give her a lot of credit. She's a very brave person, and she speaks the truth. And she's not always on my side, but I have a lot of respect for her for fighting for her community. And I wish more Democrats would do that. I think if they did, they would do much better at the polls on election day. There's a couple more things I just want to point out here that they're trying to ram through.
I'll try to skip over this then, because we've gotten plenty enough.
So we don't have that, but we'll come up with $25 billion and of new liability in the state police pension fund. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? But nobody believes them. The money's not there to fix the roads. So I look at that. I look at this, allowing you to change your gender identity on your driver's license without any proof. I mean, you could have a minor go in there without a parent, change his or her gender identity on her driver's license. Or when you're under 18, whether it's with the ones the 14-year-olds have or the ones the 16-year-olds have, you go in, you can change your gender identity on a driver's license. You look at the problems that causes for law enforcement. If you're trying to, someone commits a crime, they go in, they change their gender or their sex on the driver's license without any evidence or proof of that. That's not the kind of stuff that people in Michigan want to see right now. You look at their
powerful argument
they ran through on Friday the 13th,
not the kind of stuff people want to see.
If there's objectionable material in your local library, they're going to allow it. You can't take it away if it's some kind of thing that kids shouldn't be looking at, and you can't even have a conversation on that because it's protected by Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act. That's not what the people of Michigan want. I mean, you see grassroots movements moving across the state, whether it's in communities near me in Kalamazoo County.
He's making weak arguments.
By the way, President Trump did pretty well in Dearborn, and we have a couple Democrat members over there that Trump won their districts. And these people are coming in and voting to allow transgender books in their libraries, probably even school libraries. I mean, what is going on with these people? The people do not want that. That's not what they want us here to do. We're better off just adjourning than doing that kind of stuff. I look at the stuff they did, 6160 in Saginaw County. So the people of Saginaw County for decades have voted against higher property taxes in Saginaw City. What do the Democrats do? They come in the middle of the night and they create a state law. They're trying to create a state law that overrides the people of Saginaw and says, we're going to raise your taxes anyway, your property taxes. Is that what people want? They want, so if you're a restaurant,
this would have been a good time to go back to the beginning and said, you know what, for 2 years, Democrats have been absolutely tyrannical. They didn't even give Republican members any committee assignments in some cases. They just decided some members of our caucus weren't fit to serve on any committees. No trial, no anything. Just banned Republicans from serving on committees. Is that what they expect from us next term?
I think that can wait. These people believe that the new economic development solution for Michigan is e-bikes. These people want to give, the MEDC with Quentin Messer is going to decide who gets e-bikes with $500.
Again, he's right to point out that these bills are problematic, but the way that he's delivering it, just throwing stuff at the wall, does not work here.
You're going to pay. You're going to be paying for.
Anyway, all right. Hopefully it's.
And you're going to let Quentin Messer decide.
We're getting to the point of what are they going to do if they want to come back?
Decisions with these deals, so I don't know how he's going to decide who gets e-bikes and who doesn't. That'll be interesting to watch if it happens. They want to gerrymander county commission. So we wanted to talk about saving the restaurant industry and helping our tips, keeping tips and keeping restaurant workers wage high. These people are trying to figure out how to stack the Kent County Commission with Democrats. So they're playing around, what if we had these 4 politicians instead of these 4 politicians deciding county commission districts in these counties? And maybe if we do that, the lines will change a little bit and the politicians we favor will get elected to county commission. You guys really think we should be here to do that?
No one does, Dwayne.
I mean, that's not a serious policy that we should be working on. And that's what they were doing on Friday the 13th and trying to screw around with these county commission districts. So, I mean, there's a lot that they were trying to do, but I'm just trying to lay this out. So that's
or Indiana.
Karen Whitsett is saying enough is enough, and she's not coming in because the Democrats are not working on serious policies. And you read all the reporting, and there's been some very good reporting. I think Gongwer started it, but so many good stories in Bridge and Detroit News and MERS and all over where Democrats are speaking out against Joe Tate and the priorities that he's trying to put forward in this lame duck. So all we're asking for is let's work on serious issues. Let's address roads. Our county and city roads need help. And from what I've read, the governor agrees with that. Okay, let's go work on roads. Let's go work on saving our restaurant industry and saving their jobs of our workers. They work hard and they deserve to make a good living for their families. And then third, let's save the earned sick credit system. That's really important that if you get sick, that you have the hours in order to go take care of yourself and your family. That's all we want. And let's drop all these silly issues that have no meaning.
Wait, hold on. Let's
and then I would just say,
hold on.
If they don't do that, then just adjourn. I'd be curious if any of you reporters done your Christmas shopping.
I want to hear that bit again.
That have no meaning for jobs of our workers. They work hard and they deserve to make a good living for their families. And then third, let's save the earned sick credit system. That's really important, that if you get sick, that you have the hours in order to go take care of yourself and your family. That's all we want.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Mandatory paid sick leave? So the Democrats wanted. Republicans don't want that. You dummy. Republicans want businesses to be able to compensate their employees in whatever way they and their employees see fit, because paid sick leave is a form of compensation. And some employees might just prefer to get a higher salary. When you're the government and you're saying your labor contract must include X, Y, and Z, must include health coverage, must include paid sick leave, must include this and this and this, then those are additional expenditures of labor, and therefore salaries go down. That's how economics works, Matt. The Democrats are the ones that wanted the paid sick leave stuff. They're the ones that put that on the ballot. And this is what concerns me, guys. Because what they're doing, we should probably just, well, we might come back to that press conference if we have the time. But here's the thing. What they're doing is they're setting the stage to create terms for themselves to come back tomorrow. Here, Democrats, just do this. Just get this done. So what's going to happen is tonight, the Democrats are going to come and they're going to get everything lined up. They'll have an amendment to the nature of a substitute for whatever, because they've got bills for everything, to do the paid sick leave deal and do whatever this road funding deal is. What's this road funding deal? It's so vague. And then whatever they can do about the tip credit, which the problem is Republicans tried to fix the tip credit, but they couldn't because they were trying to overturn a citizen enacted law, and the Supreme Court of Michigan, Democrat-controlled Supreme Court of Michigan, said, no, you can't. So their options are very limited in that respect. That's a battle that the Democrats, well, Michigan lost, but the Democrats won that fight. So if anything, Republicans should be saying, yeah, this is a disaster for Michigan, and Democrats did it. There's only so much they can do. But if they give them the opportunity to come back tomorrow, then everything else is suddenly back on the table again. And mark my words, guys. If the Republicans come back and say one or two Democrats don't show, say Whitsitt doesn't come in, they need at least one Republican to pass any given thing. They might not get bills like Senate Bill 1086. What's Senate Bill 1086? Let's look at Senate Bill 1086. A bill to create a do not sell gun list. They probably won't get that, but they'll get corporate welfare deals. They'll get all kinds of special interest deals. Yeah, what's this, guys? This bill popped in on November 13th. Introduced by Senator Rosemary Baer, one of the dumbest state senators we have. And that's saying a lot. Never got a committee hearing. Passed the Senate, vote of 20-13. All Democrats. Received in the House. There's no committee memo on the bill because they didn't even have time to write a memo for it. What does Senate Bill 1086 do here? Oh, you know. Hold on, where's the new text? There is a temporary do not sell list of people to whom they may not sell firearms. So literally, they are creating a list of people who are banned from buying firearms. A blacklist that you'll be put on in any number of ways. I only bring this bill up because of all the bills that Matt Hall rattled off, they never talk about those. For some reason, by the way, I don't know. I haven't gotten anything from any gun rights organization on any of these bills. Have you? Have you guys gotten anything from the NRA about this, or GOA, or Great Lakes Gun Rights? I haven't seen anything from any of these groups about any of these bills the Democrats have just rammed through, or at least gotten part of the way through. But suppose Republicans do show up tomorrow. And suppose Sylvia Santana and Karen Whitsett do show up tomorrow. Well, then guess what? The Democrats have the votes to pass the do not sell gun list, the gun blacklist, the gun owners blacklist. And they'll have the votes for the corporate welfare deals from the Republicans too. And it'll be all lovey-dovey. I mean, not really, but they'll get everything, or a big, big chunk of it. So the best thing that happens between now and the middle of next week is that Republicans hold the line and say, there is nothing we need to do between now and the new year that can't wait. Nothing. You want to deal to fix the roads? Good. We'll have them when we have a Republican House and Senate. You didn't fix the damn roads, as she likes to say. She can't help herself but be vulgar. Fix the damn roads. For what, 6 years now? Do your road funding deal next year. We can wait a little bit longer. It's the wintertime. It's the wintertime. We got time yet. Get your immediate effect when you have the 2/3 in both chambers, or at least in the Senate. You don't need it in the House, really. Why would they give away that leverage, by the way? Matt Hall, why would you give away your leverage? You'll have more leverage when you are the speaker than now. And here's the thing, guys. If the Republicans get their deal, here's how they'll spin it. They'll say, isn't this so great? We saved the tip credit, which they probably will end up, the Supreme Court will overturn it again and say, sorry, no, you can't do that either. By the way, the Chamber of Commerce is driving that one. That's the trinket they're dangling in front of them to get them to sell out everything. And in exchange, what will the Democrats do? First of all, Democrats will get all their policies. They'll get to point to the Republicans and say, look at these dingbats. They walked out of session for 2 days and blocked all these great things, which we end up getting through anyway, most of it. At the end of the day, all they were doing was negotiating, as opposed to taking a principled stand against the Democrats' abusive procedure this entire time. Because if Republicans start making deals with the Democrats and Democrats get to pass more bills with this 56-0, 20-16, or 20-0, whatever ends up being, 20-17, 20-18, I guess it is, if they're all there, then all of a sudden, first of all, there's no more. There's no more. Oh, we took a stand against all these abuses. No, now it's, oh, we just want to get the tip credit passed. It's still okay if the Democrats pass all this crap in lame duck, passing bills that were introduced after the election, passing bills that never got a hearing in committee, passing bills voters didn't know even existed yet. The gun rights groups probably don't even know that this Senate Bill 1086 exists. Strangely. But there you go, folks. I mean, I'm sure the pro-lifers can't keep up with how many anti-life bills they're passing. You wouldn't believe some of the pro-abortion bills I've seen. There is bills that say that it is illegal for Michigan to extradite someone to another state for abortion crimes they committed in that state. Isn't that great? So suppose an abortionist kills a baby in Florida or Texas or something, and then is arrested in Michigan for, I don't know, probably doing some other heinous crime. Michigan can't extradite to them for breaking the abortion law in that other state. That's how whacked out these Democrats' bills are. If Republicans go back, they're compromising, guys. They're compromising. So we shall see. We shall hold the line. By the way, folks in the chat, please disagree with me if you don't think I'm right about this. But this news conference from Matt Hall, all I see it is them giving terms to to be able to get them to come back again, and they're setting a very low price, in my opinion. So anyway, we'll put him back on. Let's see if he gets anywhere for the next. I'm going to set this to double speed. Well, I'll set it to 1.75. See if we can still understand him at that speed, but we'll see. He likes to ramble on, I think, but we'll see how this goes.
And let's drop all these silly issues that have no meaning for the people of Michigan. And then I would just say, if they don't do that, then just adjourn. I'd be curious if any of you reporters done your Christmas shopping. I mean, we're here every night till 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 5 a.m. in the Senate with no plan and a bunch of bills that are not important. And that's what they keep you here to do. So we're just saying enough's enough. and let's work on something important, and we'll be there. So good to see you, Rep. Frisky. Great guy. So I guess we'll take some questions, and I can see you. All right, Claire, go ahead.
Do you have a one-on-one meeting with Governor Whitmer about vote coming after the election? And if so, what does it say that she wanted to have a personal meeting with you and not with Steve?
Well, I just say that, the governor and I have spoken, and I think she reported that. I think their office put out a statement that her and I met. And I'll just say, I've made it clear and some of the reporters have got this wrong. So I want to make sure I lay this out correctly, and hopefully you guys will report it accurately. So we went into caucus 2 days after the election and elected me the speaker-elect. And I came out and we did a scrum together with many of you. And I said, we need to fix our roads. Okay. I came in and put that on the table and said, that's what we're here to do. Then the governor asked for a meeting. And so I met with her, and, we haven't worked together very much before. And so, I think that the key here is, I think these Democrats, they hear so much negative things about me in the press and from the other Democrats and from the lobbyists, because we're here to change the status quo in Lansing, and that makes people scared. But I think she was trying to assess, is this somebody I can work with? And the way that I've tried to act, whether it's with you in the press or with the Democrat elected officials, including Speaker Tate and the governor, I've always tried to be honest with them. I've tried to be clear about my position. I've tried to have a position and be clear about it. I've tried to only come in knowing where my members and my caucus are. And I've always given them good advice, and I've always worked with them in good faith. And so that's the way that I, tried to present myself to the governor. It's the way I've tried to present myself to Tate. And I hope that they all see that. And I hope that they see that I'm committed, and our caucus is committed to solving the real problems facing the people of Michigan, whether it's saving our restaurant industry or fixing the roads.
Okay. The good news is we don't have to finish this news conference because he's just taking questions now. Although I guess if you want to see the rest of this, where I actually saw this original video is, if you go to the Midwesterner, they have this news article. Matt Hall blasts Dana Nessel. Oversight is coming. This, empty threat he's made, which very, very poor political judgment, guys. If you're a politician or, or really anybody, the rule is to under promise and over deliver, not to pop off like this. Very unwise. Also very unwise what he just said about his relationship with Governor Whitmer. Oh, I tried to impress upon Governor Whitmer how reasonable I am. Oh, that's real smart. This is all stuff that portends badly for when the Republicans have the actual majority, that this guy is not a very good communicator, doesn't know how to really cut through on, what the essential issues are, which is not to say that the individual bills he's talking about aren't important, but that the overarching problem is that the Democrats have been impossible to work with. That should have been the theme of this. Democrats have proven themselves impossible to work with, and we are not going to work with them until they change their behavior. But that's not what he said. He just says, make us a deal on the roads and this tip credit thing, and we'll come crawling right back. I mean, he just gave them what they need to know to win. Very, very bad tactic. Anyway, so with that, it's been over an hour already. I guess I will just comment briefly then on some of the things going on in Congress in Washington. If you have not seen, they are now in a pre-planned panic, which Speaker Mike Johnson deliberately initiated back in September. Thomas Massey called it at the time. He's taking victory laps, pointing out that he said they call me Nostradamus now because he predicted this exact thing. They passed a continuing resolution to fund the government through December 20th. Why then? So they could hold the calendar over members' heads because they so desperately all want to go home for Christmas. And their attitude is, well, we'll get this budget bill passed. You can go home for Christmas. But if you don't, you might be here through December 31st. And boy, the news just gets worse and worse. You can actually see plenty of stories on Twitter and elsewhere. 1,500 pages. Unbelievable stuff people are digging out of this bill, including blocking congressional investigations into the January 6th committee, for example. There's actually a provision in there that says that any member of Congress, any one member, can go to a court of competent jurisdiction and quash a subpoena relating to January 6th. And there's other things in there too. Massey's actually, he's not going to vote for Johnson as speaker anymore. Good for him. Yeah, the people have been just furious about this stuff. By the way, another thing, a big thing they put in this bill, $100 billion for disaster relief. Now, I suppose that's better than $100 billion in Ukraine aid, which, by the way, one thing that happened this morning, Congress, the Senate passed, and therefore the last step is done, other than Biden signing it, is the National Defense Authorization Act. They actually got rid of all of the provisions to expand the draft. The House passed version had a provision to make the automatic registration for the draft. You become 18, you're automatically registered for the draft. The Senate passed a version that said women would be drafted. And amazingly, the final version has neither of those things in there. Also has no Ukraine money. So that's a win, I guess. Although it's still, I think, another nearly $1 trillion in spending authorization for the NDAA. But anyway, yeah, Stephen says, but according to Mike Johnson, it's not an omnibus. It's just a continuing resolution. Well, yeah, it funds everything. And it's got a bunch of new stuff in there. So that kind of is an omnibus. Maybe Mike Johnson's lying like he does whenever he opens his mouth. Anyway, I don't know. Like I said, I'm glad money is going to suffering disaster victims rather than, Ukrainian officials and military industrial contractors, but doesn't $100 billion seem a bit much? I don't remember a disaster costing $100 billion. Plus we have, shoot, I just lost my train of thought there. Something else is in the omnibus. Anyway, it's a lot of money, guys. COVID level spending. That never came down. We keep hearing next year. But there's been plenty of articles about the federal budget. And again, this was all planned in advance by Mike Johnson, the lousy two-timing House Speaker who has betrayed us time and time again. So, in closing, I just want to remind everybody once again that the man Michigan has to thank for all this is John James, the one member of Congress from Michigan who blocked Jim Jordan from becoming Speaker. If not for John James and just a handful of other Republicans, we wouldn't have this two-timing lying bag of trash Mike Johnson as Speaker. We'd have Jim Jordan instead, and they wouldn't have been playing these games. And instead, you'd have Thomas Massie saying, I'm proud to re-elect Speaker Jim Jordan. So remember that, folks. Remember that when it comes time to hold rhinos accountable. It's not your job to get every Republican reelected. They have their own people for that. By the way, that thing, I forgot to mention this. I was going to mention this on last Sunday's show. Going back to last Wednesday's show, we had a show with Shane and Amber. We were talking about how you have to punish rhinos. And Patty says, I hope he doesn't run for governor. Yeah, I hope so too. Otherwise, I'll be endorsing against him for that race too. But anyway, talking about what line are you going to draw that's too much? And I forgot to mention the case of Chris Becker. Chris Becker is the Republican prosecutor in Kent County who has been destroying the life of Officer Christopher Scher for the past 2 years. That's the officer who, remember, he pulled over a guy for having an illegal license plate that didn't match the vehicle. And the guy, Patrick Lyoya, this Congolese immigrant, then first tried to run from the cop. Then when Christopher Scher chased him down, then managed to take his taser from him, at which point they got into a fight on the ground, wrestling for control of a deadly weapon, all of which is filmed on video, when finally Officer Scher shot the man. A textbook case of self-defense. And Republican Kent County prosecutor Chris Scher has been proudly charging the officer, bragging about his victories in the Democrat courts of appeals, for Officer Schur's civil rights violations because he should have never been charged under this. He was literally exonerated by the video evidence. As much as, anyone like Kyle Rittenhouse or Daniel Penny, that's our Kyle Rittenhouse and Daniel Penny guys, is Officer Christopher Schur. And the main guy trying to put him behind bars is a Republican county prosecutor. So I ask you folks, maybe you don't live in Kent County, but if you did, would you be the one telling people to vote straight ticket Republican? Would you be the one telling voters to just suck it up because the Democrat would be even worse? I wouldn't be that person. So anyway, I've talked far too long, far too many times about the lesser of two evils thing, folks. For now, at least for another week, the mission is to beat the Democrats. And let's hope the Republicans have the good sense to hold the line and not allow their speaker-elect to give the Democrats an avenue to drag them back in again. Because what's going to happen if tomorrow the Democrats say, we've got to deal with the governor, we're going to fix their roads, we're going to fix the tip credit. Republicans need to come back now. Because what are Republicans going to do then? Steve Gothal says, I live in Kent. He's a POS. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. But who am I to talk? I live in Washtenaw County. But at least we have a Democrat to run against. Which is better than nothing. Better than having Republicans. I'm sure you have people in Kent County Republican Party, maybe not the current Republican Party, but the old Republican Party, saying you got to support Chris Becker because he's a Republican. I do not buy that, and voters shouldn't either, because when you're justifying a guy that wants to judicially lynch a man, you've lost the moral high ground. Anyway, on that note, guys, keep the emails and the phone calls coming. Call your Republicans. And if you don't live in a Republican district, call Matt Hall's office. Send Matt Hall's office an email, matthall@house.mi.gov. Stop giving the Democrats the way to win. No, don't come back. Don't come back tomorrow. You already botched up the news conference. Don't come back. You just rattle off all these reasons why Republicans shouldn't be involved. But what's going to happen if they rope back in Karen Whitsett or Sylvia Santana? Then what are you going to do? At least if they get those two back on board, at least Republicans can turn around and say, look, all these bills were hyper partisan. That's why no Republicans support any of them. And that's a winning message in the long term. In the long term. Kelly Powell says, call Jennifer Conlon. Sure. Yeah. Please, guys, call them all. I'm always in favor of calling lawmakers. Calling, emailing, contacting. The more earfuls they get, the better. But if Republicans come back and start passing these bipartisan deals, then they won't be able to make the case anymore, not credibly, that the entire lame duck session was a huge abuse, which it has been. It has been. They're sending bills to the governor's desk that they haven't read, that the public didn't have time to see, that they waited until after the election because they knew they were deceiving voters. These are critical points. And that is ground the Republicans can't lose. All right, guys, that is it for me for tonight. For today. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, I am your host, and I will see you guys on Sunday. Thanks for everything you guys do for Liberty. Keep those phones and emails calling. What did I just say? Keep those phones ringing. Keep those emails coming. Call your friends. Get them on the phones. And let's see this through to the end, guys. And until next time, thanks for Audio for Liberty. Peace.